What in the heck is going on with the brand closet and Nikolai's father, Louis? If you are like me, you could not wait for August 15th for the drop of season 4, the first 5 episodes of Emily in Paris, and you immediately binged them. Yep, guilty as charged. I binged them immediately, and whoa, did I blow my own mind. As you know, if you're tuning into this channel, I have been on a journey of unwinding my mind from fear and the ego and projection and really taking hold on true healing and stepping into that deep, beautiful internal peace. So here I'm watching Emily in Paris, and you know we've got through the lens, so you know you can heal through watching others, which sparks interest by seeing what others are doing. So today I am going to share with you one of the main things that popped up in the watching of the first 5 episodes of Emily in Paris. So make sure to strap yourself in, because today's Through the Lens is all things Emily in Paris season 4. Gosh, do you just not love Emily and Mindy? I do so much, but that's a story for a different day. So the brand closet at JVMA, what is going on there? But we first have to rewind and understand Mindy's relationship, or I'm not sure if we call it relationship or the interpretation of Mindy by by Nikolai's father, Louis. So at the end of season 3, there was a fashion party. I can't remember the guy's name. And Mindy showed up in this outfit that was very, very revealing. Well, in episode 1 of this season, season 4, Emily is invited to another event with Louis's family in JVMA. It's a tennis tournament, blah, blah, blah. And he brings her an outfit to wear. And even Emily makes a comment of like, that's a little Kate Middleton for you, Mindy, but okay. I mean, he brought it to you. He said you need to wear a special designer. It's very Chanel-esque looking. And so she wears it and she feels amazing and she feels like this is such a great honor to be there and that she even got to have an outfit. And while we see her, she's off getting some champagne. She comes back and she overhears Nikolai's father saying to him, pretty much, I'm not going to quote directly because I cannot remember to save my life, but essentially he says, oh, it's so great to see her with clothes on this time. Last time she was half naked. I couldn't even, keep myself undistracted at that event. And he's pretty much says, thank God, and then takes it back and says, or I should be thanking you actually, Nikolai. But the problem is Mindy overhears that. And of course, immediately gets upset, honorably so, and she leaves, and it goes on, and Nikolai eventually comes around. But what blew my mind in the moment was, okay, we have Louis complaining about a woman showing her skin. And so then later, his way to make things up, right, is something external, which we have so many video opportunities in Emily in Paris this season, but he's immediately like, okay, you get a trip to the brand closet. And OMG, the brand closet is like the most sought after place for anyone to visit, let alone Mindy. And she gets to go there unsupervised and shop it while Nikolai's off having a meeting or whatever. So while she's in there, she is approached by 2 women who work at JVMA, and they ask her if this is her first time in the brand closet, and she's like, yeah, it is. And they're like, well, there's rules around there's rules around the brand closet. And my mind immediately is like, ding, 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 ego, rules. Okay, that's all ego driven. The ego's the one that always wants to make rules and hierarchy and hoops, essentially, you have to jump through in order to experience something exciting, something, you enjoy, right? The ego's always creating all of those games for us. And she's like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah, you need a chaperone. Or a buddy, you need a buddy, whatever. And she takes it as like, oh yeah, someone to hold my stuff or whatever. And then we see the scene goes to her sitting with Emily, having a glass of wine and sharing like, yeah, Louis makes you take him with you to the brand closet because you cannot be accepted to go in there alone, but for the purpose of when you are trying on the clothes, you undress in front of him. So he's very much projecting his own shame and guilt we see now on Mindy. Do you see that? So projection is what we are always doing. And I want to read a little piece from the course that kind of explains what he was seeing in that moment and why what Mindy did upset him so stinking much. So it says, choose once again. In this person, you are given to see your holiness or unholiness, for what you see in the other reflects what you see in yourself. And together you remain prisoners of fear, or together you leave your house of darkness and walk hand in hand into the light that forgiveness brings. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what Lewis was doing and exactly what Mindy was doing. They were projecting back and forth their own unholiness, their own vision of their, unholiness can just be shame and guilt, the own internal narratives that we don't feel good about, right? So Lewis, making women bring him with to the brand room, or essentially him bring them, and watch them change, is a direct representation of what he is not liking in Mindy. He's talking about, essentially, we could break it down that he's really referring to Mindy as not being respectful to her body and, showing discernment. And later Nikolai says, my dad really wants this wholesome vision of the family. And her outfit she wore last time did not represent the wholesome of the family. Well, essentially, his actions are not in alignment with a wholesome family at all. So instead of him looking at his own actions, he has projected it out, his own shame and guilt, on Mindy and how she showed up to the event at the end of season 3. That is a direct representation of projection. So often my clients come to me and they're like, well, this person is really, really bothering me, but, they're obese and I'm not obese, and I'm struggling with their weight, but I'm not. Well, oftentimes a person that is even slightly overweight themselves has great repulsion or anger or whatever, some sort of emotional response to someone who is obese, because it is constantly us projecting out what we are dealing with within. Everyone outside of you is a witness to your own internal dialogue. So it's not necessarily the action of Mindy, right? Because someone else saw that outfit and felt no irritation from it. Because they didn't have a narrative within that matched the narrative Mindy was displaying, right? So Lewis got upset because of that narrative he was living within himself, which is, there's so many narratives around that. Disrespect to women, doing things that are unwholesome, doing things that you feel ashamed of. The list goes on. But he saw that represented in Mindy only because he first saw it in himself, right? The statement, when you have judged someone else, you have first judged yourself. So it is always a red flag. And again, it's not always apples for apples, right? If say you find yourself being very upset with someone who has alcoholism and, grand frustration, and they use alcoholism as avoidance, right? Many people are alcoholics because they're avoiding their problems. Okay, well, you're not an alcoholic yourself, so why are they a mirror? Ashley, how could they be a mirror? I'm not an alcoholic. Well, my question would be, what do you use in your life to avoid your own problems, right? You yourself are also avoiding things through different avenues. The list goes on. It could be food, it could be sex, it could be shopping, it could be just not answering the phone, right? It's the essence of the unholiness, the essence of the shame and guilt that is being reflected back to you. It never has anything to do with the person outside of you and everything to do with what is within yourself. And so, we also see that Sylvie, she ends up going to the paper because she experienced this in the brand closet when she was first into the profession in fashion. And this really reflects on the Me Too movement. And by no means are we saying that her emotions are invalid or anything like that. And I think she shows a really beautiful representation of at least what I saw is just making a decision that was really removed from the emotions of get back, right? The emotions of projecting back on, right? She could have done it from a place of you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you. Maybe that was her motivation, but that is not what I saw in the moment at all. I saw more of she felt inspired to do it, and for much time had much resistance because the ego came in and was like, hey, your husband currently is being financially backed by JVMA, which is Lewis's company, and if you come out about the brand closet and the sexual harassment that occurred while you worked for him, they're going to pull the funding back and your husband will not be able to open his club. Oh, that has got ego written all over it because it was all about shiny objects. It was all about having. It was all about status and all the things the ego uses every single day to distract you from the inspired moments. So then Sylvie went ahead and did this with inspiration. And her inspiration will inspire others, right? That's really, I think, how the Me Too movement was started. And that's, not really somewhere I want to dive into, but originally it started out as someone feeling inspired to share their story shared, and then other people picked up on the inspiration. But of course, the ego's gotten involved in it as well, too. So there's a lot of muddy water. But that is a direct representation of not meeting attack with attack, but instead meeting someone's attack with love, coming from a place of love for the whole, love for the one, and really detaching yourself from the reflection it is within yourself because she has healed that part of her. I mean, if I'm guessing before it was upsetting and hard for her because of maybe she hadn't made it in the fashion industry yet, or she felt unworthy, or all these different narratives it was tied to that it reflected back to her. So it caused the shame and guilt, which allowed her to enter easily into the ego when she was young and to keep it a secret, right? Private thoughts, holy crap, red flag. Whenever you're asked to keep a secret or, not tell someone, essentially it's the same thing. But that is a red flag for the ego because ultimately you only keep secrets for the benefit of the body, which is the benefit of the ego. But we're not going to go down that. But ultimately back then, she was unable to listen to the inspiration that was possibly there because she was so much in fear. She was so much in fear because what he was doing was tied to her own narratives. And so she felt the shame and guilt instead of feeling the detachment from it of that not being her story. So the brand closet ultimately at JVMA is something that Lewis is currently grappling with within himself of shame and guilt, and he's projecting out into these actions of treating women in this manner, and then he doesn't even want to look at that, so then he projects it out on Mindy that she is the reason why their family does not look wholesome. But in fact, he feels within himself that lack of wholesomeness because of his own current actions, which all begin at the level of the mind. So how does this help you, Ashley? Well, first of all, it helps you to see how projection isn't apples to apples and how easily we project out on whatever comes forward that prickles us even a small bit. And it is a royal opportunity, right? Even for Lewis in this moment, if he wanted to, he could see like, oh my gosh, what I'm projecting out on Mindy has nothing to do with her, and it has everything to do with my actions at work and how I treat the women there in the brand closet, because that's not really how I want to treat others. Because how you treat others is how you treat yourself. So him not respecting others, him coercing people into certain situations for gain, him having private thoughts is all him requesting that of himself. That's why after we call someone a bad name or we do something that we're, not very proud of to someone else, we feel like slime. We feel nasty, awful. It's because you really did it to yourself. Right? And so then you just create more shame and guilt, more pain and suffering, and it's just a cyclical event until you see, oh, I just keep projecting out something that will never be healed outside of me. It needs to be brought back to the source. It needs to be acknowledged as the projection it is. And then I need to be open to having it leave, having it taken. And then that's when you ask, Buddha, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, whatever it is you believe that is out there guiding you on this journey, to take it from you. That is true forgiveness. And that's how you wrangle in the world all the projections and bring it back home and get back to the place of eternal peace and love and just remembering that you are one voice with God. And he is always shining on you and always has the opportunity to shine through you, right? Be the lighthouse. It's not about you creating a new light, my friend. That light is already shining down on you. You just have to open the doors for it to shine through you. And the way to do that is to pay attention to your projections. It is a roadmap to what's going on within, and it's opportunities constantly to bring it back in and remove another layer so that you can experience the light that you are. Ooh, did you ever think Emily in Paris could get that deep? I did not. So good. First of all, I knew I loved Emily in Paris because if you know anything about my story, Paris has been a piece of my heart since I was a wee little girl, and I did not get to visit till after my divorce, and it was like the first leap of ultimate faith I had, and wow, was that 16 days a roller coaster. I should do a video on that. Postable if you want to hear a video about that leap of trust and full leaning in to there's something much greater than me, because I have no clue how I survived that trip other than that, and came out with like the most amazing memories and connections and just reflections ever. Granted, I went back down into the darkness for a period of time, but still, that was a light I held on to for so long in the darkness. But that was season 4. I think it's episodes 1, 2, and all the way to the end of the first 5 episodes of Emily in Paris. If you loved today's episode, please post below what things showed up in Emily in Paris for you. Was there any moments watching that sparked some sort of emotion within? Share them, because guess what, friend? That's a red flag that it's some sort of mirror, and I would love to dive deep with you here on Through the Lens and help you to unpack that. So share with me what it was, and I'll make an episode and so that you can see how you can utilize Emily in Paris to heal, just like I've been doing. So much love. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we've only got like 3 more weeks till the next 5 episodes come out, so hold tight, but we'll be back with more from Emily in Paris. As always, so much love, my friend, and remember, you are worth it. Bye-bye.